Hi, Wine Access family. I'm Sur Lucero, Master Sommelier, Vice President of Wine here at Wine Access, and I'm with Robert Emery, my friend and coworker, Vice President of Wine as well, and we're going to go through August 2018's Wine Club wines, and we're really excited about today's offering. So let's just get right down to it, Robert.
Let's do it.
So wine here from the area of the Marche for this month's Wine Club, August of 2018 for Wine Access. This is Tenuta de Tavignano Misco from the area of Verdicchio, Castello di Jesi. The grape varietal is Verdicchio. Castello di Jesi is the area, and it's about 10 miles in off the Adriatic coast, 10 to 12 miles in, and these are sandy soils, a slightly warm area, really, really beautiful area as well. The wines themselves are known for being a little bit more of this kind of fuller, kind of ripe peach, kind of yellow apple, kind of honeysuckle type wine. I find the Misco to be a little bit brighter, a little bit fresher, and a little bit more precise. This is the second year in a row that this wine has won the coveted Tre Bicchieri Award, the 3-glass award, given by that organization for the best wines within their respective regions, and this wine has achieved it twice, and for this particular vintage. The wine, as I said, on the nose smells very, very fresh. Lemon peel, lemon pith. There's definitely some white flower elements. There's some fresh picked herb like fennel, not quite grassy as parsley, but really kind of light, fresh picked herbs. That white peach, kind of green apple, kind of crispness is there with river rock and whetstone. I don't believe this wine sees any oak because it's that fresh and it's that crisp. It's really nice and uplifting. What I suggest is you get the wine, you get it into your refrigerator right away upon arriving it, and pull the cork within the next few months because it's summertime. It is the perfect time to enjoy this right now. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a stellar example of Verdicchio from Castello di Jesi. Cheers.
So the wine we have next is our Arietta 2016 Quartet Sauvignon Blanc. Arietta is a very fascinating winery. It was founded by 4 people, Fritz Hatton, John Kongsgaard, and their respective spouses. In 2005, they turned over the reins of the operation to one of my favorite winemakers in the area, a gentleman named Andy Erickson. Andy is best known for being the former winemaking of Screaming Eagle, and since then has gone on to do brilliant things with Arietta, with Mayacamas, and a number of other projects. So this is a classic example of a Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc. On the nose, you immediately pull some oak aromatics and spices off of it. It has a nice tone of vanilla and sweet spice, a little bit of clove and cinnamon, as well as your traditional Sauvignon Blanc notes of passion fruit, Meyer lemon, and there's just a touch of lemongrass as well. But on the palate, the wine has a richness you don't usually see from Sauvignon Blanc. It's very broad, but still has a refreshing, bright acidity. Makes this wine ideal as a pairing for a variety of fish dishes, especially something along the lines of salmon or tuna. But very food friendly and very refreshing just on its own. Personally, my favorite pairing for this wine is nothing. I just have a glass of it after work to unwind before I start cooking. Give it a try.
So I think a really fun wine here for the 2018 August Summer Wine Club here is that we have a wine from the area called Bierzo, or Bierzo. The grape varietal here is Mencia, and Mencia for me always reminds me a little bit of like really dark warm Grenache, so a little bit of Syrah-like characteristics from this kind of cracked pepper, kind of savory, kind of warm, kind of round kind of profile to it. It has a little bit of a kind of a New World-esque Pinot Noir profile. This one does exactly. And it's made by a very important gentleman named Raul Perez, who's very highly celebrated in Spain for making dozens and dozens and dozens of wines, scoring the very, very high 90s. And a beautiful wine. Let me just go ahead and talk about it. It's definitely going to be a discovery wine for a lot of you. I think you're going to absolutely love it. The price point when we offered was a super great value, especially for the wine and the quality that it puts in the glass. And let me just go ahead and describe it for you. So right now, just looking at the wine, It has a pretty dark ruby core going all the way out to a lightly kind of ruby type of rim here. And on the nose is where it gets really interesting. This is like warm, kind of baked red fruits and black and purple fruits. There's this kind of cracked pepper and dried rose petal, but a very, very soft, warm, kind of plummy fruit to the wine. But that cracked pepper and almost a little bit of like this bloody gamey kind of quality to this kind of blood wild game kind of like meat quality to the wine is really beautiful. But the wine is very clean. It's still very polished. On the palate, there's still rose petal, but there's also this kind of crushed violet, and the wine's a little bit more contained, a little bit more Syrah-like on the palate. That cracked pepper, that kind of wild brambly berry and dried herb. It's just a really fun wine. This area Bierzo, if you've not had it before, I think these wines, are a tremendous success of kind of undiscovered, if you will, which is a little bit of the theme of this month's wine club. It's undiscovered wines, or wines from areas that are underdiscovered. And I think that this wine is absolutely fantastic. It's an entry-level price point, but the quality is just soaring. You're going to love it, everybody, as much as I do. I know it.
What we have here is the Campo Eliseo. It's a 2009 Toro. Toro is a very unique wine region in Spain. It is on the Duero River, just downstream from Ribera del Duero. So landlocked, very warm region, and it's known for having its own distinct variety or distinct clone of Tempranillo, locally known as Tinta del Toro. Much smaller berry, much higher skin-to-juice contact ratio, makes for a richer, fuller-bodied wine with fuller tannins. So very unique wine, and this particular producer is one of my favorites. It is a collaboration between Michel and Danny Roland, who are two of the most sought-after wine consultants in the world, hands down. And they collaborated with a gentleman named Francois Lurton, who is one of the largest landholders in Bordeaux. All three of them know wine inside and out, and they wanted to pair up on a project that was unique and different. So let's try the wine. It's exciting. So right off the nose, you have a lot of really nice, rich, dark cherry fruits, dried cherry with a hint of plumminess, and notes of cinnamon and exotic spices. Think Moroccan baking spices. It's a very warm and very inviting wine. And then on the palate, the palate really shows the mastery of Michel Roland, because for such a rich tannic wine, it's velvety soft. So it kind of envelops your tongue in this velvety soft tannin with a rich cherry fruit flavor and lots of spice. And on the finish, this sweet plum note comes through, but the wine is bone dry. Would be a perfect pairing for a steak or anything you throw on the grill for the summertime. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
I now have the privilege to introduce to you the 2014 Ojai John Sebastiano Vineyards Syrah. Ojai is an iconic producer down in the Santa Barbara County area. Really been making some beautiful Pinot Noirs and Rhone varietals, Syrah, and a few others. And this wine is just absolutely stunning. Everything that I really, really want in a great Syrah. Now, the John Sebastiano Vineyard is over in the eastern portion of the Santa Rita Hills area within Santa Barbara County, which is kind of a little bit more than the southern portion of Santa Rita County. This is a east-west facing valley, and so there's really nothing kind of stopping the influence of the Pacific Ocean, just kind of ravaging through these vineyards. So very wind-swept vineyards in this area, and what that does is it keeps the yields fairly low. It keeps the berry sizes a little bit smaller, slows down the ripening process as well, and just creates a lot of great concentration in the wine. Now, this is a gentleman that been making these wines, the name behind this brand, Adam Tolmack. I met with him with one of my really great friends, Brian McClintock. I want to say it was back in 2011, 12, and just had an amazing amazing visit over there at Ojai, and I've been a fan for them well before that. While I've been working in restaurants, let me just jump right into the wine as opposed to just going on and on and on. It's just a fantastic wine. Okay, on the nose, or just even looking at the wine, really deep, dark, concentrated purple going all the way out to kind of a light purple, almost slightly magenta-like rim. Good color concentration, staining of the tears, classic Syrah color here. And on the nose, it's just explosive, really kind of this dried violet, kind of wild game kind of profile to it. Purple fruits, black thorny fruits, blackberry, black raspberry, kind of crushed in nature, slightly warm as well. There's this cracked pepper, this volatile kind of cracked pepper kind of note, cracked red, black and white pepper as for sure there, as well as this kind of like hot rock, kind of crushed rock kind of note. One of the beautiful things about Ojai and Adam Tolmack is he decided, a while ago now that he was going to take wines and not necessarily make them in the California style where everything's really deep and concentrated. He's going to actually pull back quite a bit more and make wines that are a little bit more restrained, with a little bit more finesse. And he's done such a good job with this. The wine has power, has intensity, has richness, but it's light on its feet. Great definition. Really good elegance to the wine as well. So. Classic Syrah, for sure from California. Still has that intrinsic kind of top palate acid profile. It's very, very linear that Syrah always has for me. But it's really expansive in terms of its aromatics. This kind of wild kind of a 5-spice kind of blend, almost a cardamom kind of like lifted aromatic floral note to it with lots of cracked peppers. Still that kind of wild game and crushed violet kind of nose to the wine. It's just classic textbook Syrah done in a very polished, beautiful style. I absolutely love it. I could keep talking about it for minutes and minutes and minutes. It's beautiful wine.
So our next wine comes from a sleepy little hillside village, hilltop village, I should say, in Umbria, a landlocked region in Italy that doesn't export as much wine as they produce. This is I'm very passionate about this wine because I've actually been to this winery and been to this region, and it's a thing of beauty. It's from a native grape called Sagrantino, and Sagrantino combines some of the more savory notes you would get from Sangiovese with the raw power of Cabernet Sauvignon. So it makes a great alternative for a fuller-bodied wine for Cabernet drinkers and even for Syrah drinkers. So. And Col Petrone is one of the best producers in the region, in my humble opinion. So let me take a quick sniff, and right off the nose, you get some of those savory elements that I was talking about. It's got this nice herbal sage note combined with a hint of Morello cherry and a savory tobacco undercurrent that lifts the whole thing, and notes of violets as well. It's very floral. And then on the palate, so the palate has a power and a richness. It has plenty of tannin, but it's not overly astringent, so it just gives a really firm texture to the wine. It's got a lot of darker fruit flavors on the palate than there were on the nose, more black cherry, blackberry, and just subtle hints of spice. This would be a beautiful wine to pair with any number of dishes that would either come off the grill or, honestly, I'm thinking steak, like a traditional Tuscan steak. Anyway, I hope you try the wine, and I hope you like it as much as I do.
Another wine we have here for August of 2018's Wine Access Wine Club here is the Clarendon Hills Grenache Romas. 2010 is a vintage here, so it's really hitting perfect stride right now. It's really delicious wine. What's important about this producer is it's a benchmark producer within Australia for Grenache, for Shiraz, a very, very highly regarded wine. The Romas Grenache comes from a vineyard site that's just about 100 years old, from a 100-point winemaker. This wine right here is just everything you would think about when you're talking about classic Australian Grenache. And yes, this is a pretty big category, especially in Australia. Perhaps you might think of Grenache and go to the area of Chateauneuf du Pape in France. However, Australia's been making Grenache for quite a while and making it, especially from Clarendon Hills, in a very, very polished, beautiful style. As I said, this wine has about 8 years of bottle age on it, and right now there's this really nice dark baked black plum and like this savory kind of almost like sandalwood woodsy kind of cigar spice, kind of like tobacco kind of note to the wine. The fruit is deep, it's dark, it's rich, it's very, very opulent. When the wine hits the palate, there's some density to the wine, there's some richness to the fruit, there's still a good amount of acidity, there's breadth. The wine definitely is expansive, a lot like Grenaches from Chateauneuf du Pape, but there's a heaviness, there's a primary quality to the ripe, juicy fruit here. Juicy, ripe, polished fruit, black pepper, dried herbs, definitely some kind of like the dried floral components. Clarendon Hills, Romas Grenache, 100-year-old vines, 100-point winemaker, beautiful wine, crazy, crazy good value. Cheers.
So what we have here is the Delaney Val di Santi. This is a classic example of a more modern Super Tuscan, and that may seem like a contradiction in terms, but a Super Tuscan is any wine that is made in Tuscany that is a non-traditional style wine. Using grapes imported from France, and in this wine they use Cabernet Sauvignon, Sangiovese, the classic grape from Chianti, and a little bit of Cabernet Franc to create a wine that's really fruit dominant in style, with nice, beautiful new oak to tie it all together. The winemaker for this project is similar to the Campo Eliseo Toro from before, is Michel Roland, who is, again, by far one of the most famous wine consultants in the world and a critical darling. So I'm excited to try this. And right off the nose, you get that Cabernet Sauvignon purity of cassis and tobacco. It has a nice little bit of development to it, and notes of violet and a little hint of sage and spice, and other notes that you would expect from Sangiovese, like just a touch of Morello cherry and on the palate. The palate has a beautiful core of fruit. It has a nice weightiness on the tongue, a good richness. Lots of black cherry, lots of blackberry, lots of cassis, creme de cassis, and like I said, really well integrated notes of French oak. Just beautiful vanillin and baking spice. And so all together, it makes for a really nice full-bodied wine, but not a wine that's going to overpower the food that you pair it with. So, cheers.